is 100,000 Velo good enough for me? Now, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf, and even though nothing I say is financial advice, 100,000 Velo, I don't see why not. Because let's say during a fully fledged Bora, Velo were to hypothetically go to the price of $1. Now, of course, at that point, that 100,000 Velo could hypothetically be worth $100,000 because, of course, 100,000 times 1 is 100,000. Now, people, they may be, in two different states of minds, maybe in this case, right? Because in one hand, they may be thinking, okay, that's a little bit boring, that's not really much. And then on the flip side, some people may be thinking, okay, it's impossible for Velo to reach the price of $1. Now, let me explain the first part, which is people who may be thinking, oh, 100 grand isn't that much. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes people seem to think that this is actually bad, but keep in mind, $1 is around a 74x from here. That's not that bad in my opinion. And, $100,000, I get it, homes are very expensive, but I think that's a pretty good down payment for a home. Not to mention, many people that I know out there, they're not only just holding Velos. So let's say during, a make-believe scenario, let's say like, someone holds a bunch of projects in a very well-diversified portfolio, and let's say one of the projects in that portfolio is Velo, and let's say they have 100,000 Velo, and let's say during a fully fledged Bora, that went to the price of $1, so 100,000, right? How is that bad, especially considering if many other projects in that portfolio did pretty well as well, right? So I don't think it's that bad. Not to mention, I know some people out there with around $50,000, and they were able to travel the world for around 2 years. Now, they're not living, a 5-star lifestyle, going to 5-star restaurants and hotels. They weren't doing that. But then still, they were able to travel the world, meet new people, gain new experiences, and just see new places. So I don't think 100 grand is even that bad anyways, but even 50 grand, I don't think is that bad. However, even besides that point, for some people out there who may be thinking, oh, $1 impossible, well, I get it again, it's around a 74x from here, but really, if Velo were to go to the price of $1, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $7.5 billion. I mean, are you kidding me? Now, I don't mean this in a way that, oh, this is not that much, but really, I don't think it's that much because when I take a look at something like Bitcoin, let's say during a fully fledged Bora, let's say that went to the price of around $300,000. Let's say the market cap at that point is around 6 trillion. Let's say something like Ethereum went to a market cap of around 2 trillion. Now that's combined 8 trillion. So just imagine, that's literally in that scenario, 8 trillion, that's $8,000 billion. Because even $1 trillion is $1,000 billion, and $1 billion is $1,000 million. So I think that's a very massive amount. But even besides that, are we saying out of around $8,000 billion, around $7.5 billion can't flow into this? I don't think it's that much to ask for, really, in the grand scheme of things. But even besides that point, this is just my perspective. Now, why don't I think that something like Velo is bad? Because I think that its amazing fundamentals could very well allow for it to reach great heights during a fully fledged Bora. And let me explain why. Because if we take a look at Velo, it's even been stated that it is a blockchain-enabled financial system and decentralized settlement network that is designed to make the transfer of value between one country to another more efficient. Now, basically, Velo, in simple terms, is focused on cost-effective cross-border payments and as well as remittances. Now, I think these are two major markets because, first of all, the payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion, so that's massive. But really, I think something that Velo is very well known for is its emphasis towards remittance. Now, what is remittance, right? Let me explain this very briefly. Basically, if let's say I'm from, Brazil, and I'm working in, let's say, Japan. Let's say I'm working in Japan and I'm sending, income back home, right, to Brazil, which is very amazing. That's remittance right there. Now, just think about this, right? There's many people around the world who work internationally, and many of them, naturally, I would assume, in one way or another, might be sending money back home. So, of course, there needs to be a remittance solution that is very fantastic. At least that's the way to take a look at it. So could Velo very well step in and save the day? Maybe. And the thing that I like about Velo is the fact that they're even, initially at least, right, focused on the Southeast Asian region. Now, why does this matter? Because some people out there, they may be thinking, okay, why not just focused on like everything at once? Well, in my opinion, having that initial focus is actually good because it showcases that they have their focuses in the right area. And even if we take a look at it, right, According to BPB, in 2020, there was nearly 24 million Southeast Asians living outside their country of origin. So imagine their mints there, and that's back in 2020. So imagine as of right now, maybe the number could be a lot better. Who knows? So being focused on Southeast Asia, I think, is a good move. Not to mention as well, when I take a look at, just remittance market just globally, right? It's even been stated that, according to Granby Research, the global digital remittance market is expected to reach over $60 billion by 2030. So again, Velo is clearly focused on the right markets. And now some people may be thinking, oh, Velo's a little bit boring, man. That's it. Well, there's actually a lot more because Velo is focused on something called CDeFi, which stands for Centralized Decentralized Finance. And now I get it, right? It's a little bit of a tongue twister, I would say, but let me explain why this is amazing. It's because we all know DeFi, I'm assuming, decentralized finance. That's amazing. But then not everyone loves DeFi naturally, right? Some people out there, they may like, centralized finance, but they may not like it like completely. So what is a good balance in between? Combining the good aspects of centralized finance, aka CeFi, and combining that with the good aspects of DeFi, aka decentralized finance. And then we have something called CDeFi, which again, Velo is focused on that. So I do like that. Not to mention as well, if we take a look at Velo, we'll see that as a part of it, I would assume as a complete project, right? There's something called Quantum, which is a one-stop lightning speed remittance network. That's pretty cool. There's Universe, which is a multi-chain super decentralized exchange. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We also take a look at the Nova chain, which is an affordable universal blockchain network. All right, that's okay. We take a look at Orbit, a crypto super app. Who really cares about that? And also Warp, a multi-network cross-chain bridge. Yeah, I guess it's pretty cool. So really, Velo has amazing aspects to it, but really what I focus on is just the remittance aspect. But even besides that, Velo even has a stablecoin, which is, I get it, kind of like a 50-50 thing because some people may be thinking, okay, there's too many stablecoins, we don't need this. Well, the way you take a look at it is that why not? Because if we take a look at, not too long ago, right, Velo had an involvement with BlackRock. And yes, I'm talking about BlackRock. Like, that's very massive, right? And more specifically, with BlackRock's tokenized short-term treasury fund into their USDV stablecoin. So that's very massive right there. Not to mention, Velo not too long ago also had a collaboration with the Laos Bullion Bank to integrate gold into the blockchain. Or should I say into blockchain? But besides that, this is all very amazing to me. And Laos, it's very amazing. So I think that seeing stuff like this is very fantastic. Anyway, take a look at it. I think when it comes to Velo, it's an A+ project with amazing fundamentals, pretty good exchange listings, even though it could be better. And also it has an A+ community. It's not the biggest community out there, but I do believe that in terms of the passion, in terms of the drive, it is there. So really, when it comes to Velo, I think it's very fantastic. And it's a no-brainer for me. The only thing I can control as of right now is accumulating more, holding, and just waiting. That's it. Because beyond that, I can't demand things to pump and all this. I can't do that, right? The only thing I can do is just control myself. And usually, as a worst-case scenario, altcoins, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April of last year. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. It's not a guaranteed date or anything like that. But you know what? I'm still going to pay attention because with the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, and also what the Solana ETF in Canada could hypothetically or potentially bring for the future of the crypto space overall. So as of right now, I just got to stay patient. And I don't think around $100,000 was the peak for Bitcoin. I think there's ways to go. And imagine if Bitcoin went to 200,000, 300,000. Would Velo at the price of $1 seem that bearish or would it seem a little bit bullish? I think seem a little bit bearish at that point because if the markets are doing that well, $1, I don't see why not. And when people ask me, hey, is 100,000 Velo good enough? Even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf, personally for me, I would say so. And make sure to subscribe. If you gain value from this video, I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Believe the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace. Bye.